You know, I was really excited about this episode until we got to a certain point, and I'll point that out when we get there. This is the D. Louise book series, and I'm Christina. Let me fix this. Kristina, and it's nice to meet you. Um, I'm doing Victoria Thompson's Gaslight series, Sarah Brent, Frank Malloy during the week, so please check out those reviews. One of the main characters is deaf, so I'm learning sign language. Again, I learned it way back when I was teaching a little. So, anyways, um, this is Star Trek Fridays. We have Flashback Mondays, Star Trek Fridays, and then please watch the video after this, if then. If you like this author, then maybe you like that author. But we are doing the recaps of Star Trek Next Generation. It's a series. I'm a series person. I like to go from character progression from episode to episode. Um, uh, I don't know what's going. I would like some likes and subscribes. If you already liked and subscribed, thank you very much. But I could use some more. It's been over a year now, and I still haven't reached 200. Not even close. In fact, I lost 5 subscribers this week. So who knows if I'll ever make 200. Maybe by the time this airs, I will have made 200. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I reached about 170 last September. It is now April. I'm still not at 200. So obviously, I'm inadequate in some ways. I could use some support. Spread the word. I'm here. I don't know. Don't know. But anyways, this is Star Trek Fridays, and last week we did Disaster. This week we're doing the game, and I have yet to figure out why Unification Part 1 is 208 and why Unification Part 2 is 207. But we will do Part 1 first and Part 2 second, regardless of the fact that the numbers are out of order here. If someone could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it. So we are getting started here with the game, and I want to tell you I was very, very excited about this episode. Um, I was disappointed in the fact that Brent Spinner, I have pointed this out numerous times, and I'll probably do it again this episode because that's me. That there's a blank space after Brent Spinner's name in the credits. That's where Wesley Crusher's name used to be. And since Will Wheaton is guest starring in this episode, I would have thought for old time's sakes, since they haven't filled the space with anything else, they could put his name back for one episode, run one of the older credits. All the people are the same. But no, they left the space blank and they did special guest appearance. But, it would have been nice if they put his name back in the blank. But they didn't. And I wish he would be back. I know he'll be back again for a couple more episodes later on. But I wish he would have become a more regular member sooner. So this, like I said, I was really looking forward to this episode until a certain point, and we will get to that, because then it was just like just didn't want no part of this episode. I really wanted to stop, but I wanted to do the recap. I wanted to do this video, so I watched the rest of it. So I hope you'll stick along with me, because according to my statistics, you're not even here anymore. You're completely gone. Most of my people only watch 10 seconds and then they're like, bye. So I don't know what's wrong with me, because there's got to be something wrong with me if I'm not doing this right. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyways, I hope you'll stick with me as we go through this episode and try to avoid copyright infringements. The last couple have gotten copyright infringements, and I don't know how to fix it. So anyways. So, we start the episode off with Riker on vacation. And he's messing around with this woman. And I was like, why are you showing me this? I don't want to see this. This is sci-fi. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. What the hell does this until they ran around and they played lovers game and all that kind of crap, and I just don't want to talk about it. And then she puts this virtual headset on him, and apparently it gives him lots of pleasure. And I was like, why did you show me this? I don't want to see it. It's just horrible. What does this have to do with the episode? And then I got it. And then I was like, ew. And if it wasn't because I wanted to do the recap, and if it wasn't because it was Wesley Crusher and Will Wheaton, and I really wanted to see the episode, I'd have turned it off right then and there because I couldn't stand it after this. I was good until that point. We will get to that point. So then after all that icky stuff, we come back after opening credits, which again, Wesley Crusher's Will Wheaton's name was missing from that space. And they could have put his name in that space for just one episode. It wouldn't have killed them. They could have just run the old credits. But no, he had to be listed as a guest star. And there she goes again. Every single video I make, regardless of what time of day it is, she goes off. Please check out my New Year's Eve video to see her identity. And I need to fix her. She forever, for 10 years plus, read 10 a.m. I put a battery in her last fall, and she worked for about 24 hours or so, and then she stopped at 9:30, and I was like, I need to put her back to 10 because I'm just so used to seeing her at 10. And in the last month and a half, she went to 11. I'm like, oh my God, she worked for an hour. It was just weird. All of a sudden, she was 11 instead of 9:30. So I'm still thinking about putting her back at 10, or maybe 12. But anyways, it's just weird looking at her at 10:55. But anyways, we come back from opening credits, and it's Captain's Log, Stardate 45208.2. Commander Riker has rejoined the Enterprise from Riser, and we are on our way to an uncharted area called the Phoenix Cluster. We are all anticipating the historic first look at the region, which has absolutely nothing to do with the episode. I don't like it when you're explaining something to me that has zero to do with the episode. So Riker comes on the bridge and he says, it's starting to get busy around here. 5 new science teams just beamed in from Zakura. Quarters are filling up fast. Picard says, on top of everything, there's been a change. We've been given only 2 weeks to complete the exploration. Riker says, 2 weeks? That's not enough time to explore a region that size. I thought we had 5 weeks. Data comes along and says, Commander Starfleet has added a diplomatic mission to Oceanus 4. Picard says, Will, I'm leaving it up to you to make sure that all science departments have equal chance of completing their research. Riker says, that'll be a juggling act. Picard says, oh, and one piece of good news, we're to rendezvous with a shuttlecraft carrying Wesley Crusher. He's on vacation from the Academy. And Riker says, oh, good. We can use some extra help around here. So Riker goes into engineering. He says, Geordi, how are we coming with the survey preparations? LaForge says, I'm up to my neck in observation schedules right now. Our biggest hurdle is sensor availability. Riker says, especially since 2 exobiologists and 3 stellar cartographers have joined us from the Zircon. LaForge says, 15 science team, only 2 weeks, and 1 long-range array don't make for a great combination. Riker says, what about the lateral sensors? LaForge says, they're booked solid for planetary observation. Riker says, the gamma ray scanner? LaForge says, we're reprogramming them now. Leffler, a moment of your time, please. And we introduce a new character, whether she's around for further episodes, I do not know. I do not think so. But she is a love interest for Wesley Crusher. So Robin i- joins them, and he says, "Okay, specialist, what's our sensor status?" Robin says, "We're increasing the available bandwidth so more science teams can use the sensors at once. We figured out a way to do it by multiplexing the array." Riker says, "Can we have that done before we arrive?" Robin says, "Yes, sir. You can count on it." Riker says, "Keep it up, Leffler," and she leaves. And then Riker goes, "Oh, Jordy, I brought this game back from Riza. You just have to try it." First clue to something we do not like. I wanted to ask one question here. The game, the game with LaForge. How does he use the game with his visor? He's blind. How does it work? He's blind. Just thought I'd point that out because you don't see him using it. So if he's blind, how does it work for him? Did we need this scene? Was it absolutely necessary for us to get this sexually charged chocolate scene? Now, you know, us fans have always wanted Troy and Riker to get together. And as you know, the writers didn't want it. We wanted it, but the writers didn't. The characters wanted, we wanted, but the writers didn't. And the writers ruled because the fans didn't matter. So they kept Riker and Troy apart. But every once in a while, they got evil with us and threw them together for cute little scenes. And I don't, it was just chocolate. And it was chocolate. What the hell was this about? And then he's like, "Oh, I got this game for you." She went all sexual over chocolate. It's a sci-fi show. No sex on screen for sci-fi shows. So then Wesley beams aboard the Enterprise. Chief O'Brien welcomes him back. It's nice to see Kyle and Meany back for an episode. He says, "Congratulations on Molly." O'Brien says, "Thanks. Wait till you see her. She's a spitting image of her dad." Wesley says, "So where is everybody? Is my mom around?" O'Brien says, "The senior staff is in a meeting. You're supposed to go to your mother's quarters." Wesley says, "Oh, do you think it'd be all right if I just dropped in to say hi?" And O'Brien goes, checks with the bridge and asks if it's okay for Wesley to drop in, and they say it's okay. So he goes into the observation lounge, and it's solid black, and then they go, "Surprise!" And his mom welcomes him back, and the captain tests his Latin, and then everybody welcomes him back. They're so glad to see him. And Data has some questions for Wesley. Wesley, was our attempt to make you uncomfortable effective? Wesley says, "You bet it was. For a second there, I thought I was on the wrong ship." Data says, "Did you find our deception pleasing?" "Yeah, it's fun to be surprised." Riker says, "Are you here to work or play, Mr. Crusher?" Wesley says, "Sir, I know you're on vacation, probably like to sleep and spend some time on the holodeck. But if you're so inclined, we could use your help with the Phoenix Cluster Survey." Wesley says, "Sounds great." And then LaForge says, "Come to engineering as soon as you can." Data is questioning Wesley some more. Have you found the Academy challenging, Wesley? Wesley says, yeah, I thought after being on the Enterprise it would be a breeze, but there's a lot more to learn than just starship operations. What was your first year like? Data says, although I did extremely well scholastically, my lack of human understanding often created social obstacles. Wesley says, like what? He says, I particularly remember the phenomenon of practical jokes, several of which I fell victim to. Tell me about it. My first week that I was there, this guy named Adam Mortoni reprogrammed the sonic shower to cover me with mud. It took a while, but I got him back really good. Data says, good for you. Wesley says, thanks. I also found social gatherings difficult. This one event, an Academy tradition called the Sadie Hawkins dance. Wesley says they hold it every year. Data says, notably awkward experience. I know what you mean. I can't even dance. Really? Your mother is quite an expert. She recently taught me. Wesley says, the dancing doctor, she tried to teach me too, but I just don't have the knack. Data says, I would be happy to teach you dancing. I have programmed a comprehensive 17-part course with some interesting holographic partners. Wesley's like, I'll let you know. So then we're in engineering. So Wesley goes into engineering. He has a few words with Geordi, and then he meets Robin. He's trying to work on something, and Wesley's like, why aren't these registering? Robin says, you might try calibrating them manually. Excuse me? The detectors, they tend to get temperamental, and you can try calibrating them by hand. You're kidding. The computer has to do this. Robin says, no, look, the subroutine lets you do it from the panel. Law 17, when all else fails, do it yourself. Wesley says, it's working, thanks, sure. By the way, I'm Wesley Crusher. Robin says, I know, you just came back from the Academy. Wesley's like, that's right. Robin goes, I'm Robin. Wesley goes, I'm Wesley. Hi. We have this cute thing. Teenage angst. So then we're on the bridge. Data says, Geordi, a conflict has started between the planetary evolution team and the stellar physics. Each wishes to be the first to use the thermal imaging array. LaForge says, well, tell them to flip a coin. We've got to work together on this mission. Otherwise, we're never going to get it done. Data says, a coin. Very good. I will replicate one immediately. And then Dr. Crusher calls Data to the sick bay. This is where, if I wasn't doing a recap, I'd have shut it off. Because I really wanted to watch this episode because of Wesley Crusher. I was really looking forward to this episode because of Wesley Crusher. I wanted to see the interaction between the family again. I wanted to see these characters work together. And what did I get? A conspiracy brainwashing episode. I don't like conspiracy brainwashing episodes. They hurt Data. They cut his wires. It's his friends. They're his pals. They're his loved ones. And they hurt him because they got addicted to a stupid game, a brainwashing game, a brain that took control of them. I don't like that game, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And what they do to him later on, the Wesley, is uncalled for. That is so wrong to be showing on a sci-fi show. It is so wrong. I don't like it. They secured sick bay. They do all this computer stuff. And then Picard and Wesley have tea. And they talk about the Academy. And Wesley tells them about some of his teachers. And they bring up Boothby. And Wesley teases him that Boothby didn't remember him, and then they brought up a tree that Picard carved his initials in and a female's initials in, and he after blushing and getting all the embarrassing stuff out of the way, he tells Wesley that if he ever has a moment where he's going to carve somebody's initials in that tree, not to let it interfere with his studies because he he failed organic chemistry because of a girl. And then Dr. Crusher calls Picard to sickbay. And then they all pretend that Data's in a coma and they report it to the captain. And at some point during this particular menage a trois, you do not see it. It's off screen or off stage. You know, my author says if it happens on the page, then it's on stage. And if you're told about it later, then it would happen off stage. And that's exactly what happens here. The manipulation of Captain Picard happens off screen, so you do not know about it until it's too late. I do not like this episode. I do not like brainwashing. I do not like manipulation. I do not like good people going against their friends because they've been brainwashed or manipulated or whatever. I don't care. But this has not been a good episode with Wesley Crusher. Did you have to pull all this crap? I don't like it. I do not like it. Then Geordi is checking everything to see what's going on with Data, and nothing is going on with Data. And Riker says, and Geordi's like, I think I'll go check with Beverly. And Riker goes, no. I got this game I want you to try out. Now tell me, how did that game work on Geordi if he can't see? Explain that one. We have Wesley and Robin time. Conduits 12 and 22 are still down for testing. Robin said we can reroute the junction 14 beam. Wesley says you have a funny way of looking at a conduit configuration, but it works. That's law 36. You've got to do with what works. Wesley says, what are all these laws that I keep hearing about? Robin says, they're my personal laws. Every time I learn something essential, I make up a law about it so I never forget it. How many do you have so far? 102. Robin looks like the starboard array needs another sub-processor. It'll be online in a few minutes. I'm way ahead of you. Robin said, they said you were good. Why do I get the feeling that you already know about me? Robin says, I have friends at the academy. Your name's come up a couple times. That was really some stunt you pulled on Adam McConey in the physics lab. I just want to know how you got the antimatter regulator to spray out chili sauce. Wesley said, that's another story. Robin says, is it true that what they say about your birthmark? Wesley says, this isn't fair. I hardly know anything about you. Hey, that's law 46. Life isn't fair. Yes, I know. I have to work on sensor arrays, but I'd like a chance to even the score. 10 forward, 1900, join me for coffee? She goes, no, I won't join you for coffee, but I'll join you for dinner. We get a captain's log supplemental. We have arrived at the Phoenix cluster, but it will take us several hours to determine the best possible locations from which to conduct our survey. Commander Data's condition remains unchanged with no further indication as to the cause of his collapse. So then we find that Beverly is playing the game and she's trying to convince Wesley to try the game, and he doesn't want to try the game. And she almost tries to force it on him, and I don't like this. And what happens later, I really don't like. She really tries to force it on him, and he doesn't want to do it. And he asks how Data is, and she just like brushes it off. And she wants to help. He wants to help, and he's like, no, you're on vacation. and he's trying to dress for dinner, and his mother's trying to get him to come to the game. And he's trying to have the girl come to the room to play the game. It's all about the game, the game, the game, the game, the game, the game. I'm over it. And she tries to force it on him, and I don't like it. But I also wanted to point out he's only got about 6 articles of clothing hanging in that closet. So what is it taking him so long to pick out something to wear? There's only 6 items. He's a guy. A guy doesn't take that long to figure out things. A guy just comes in, grabs something, and goes. I don't like this at all. I just don't like it. So then Wesley and Robin are in Fen Ford socializing, and Robin is saying, when your parents are the only plasma specialists in the sector, you do a lot of traveling around. We went from base to base to base. I feel like a piece of luggage after a while. I spent all of my time around technical gear. My first friend was a tricorder. Was he really? My first friend was a warp coil. Robin says, my parents' work came first. They really didn't have time for me, even when I needed them. So that's how I learned my first law. Law 1, you can only count on yourself. Wesley sounds kind of lonely. Well, now you're here. Now I'm here. Well, I'm glad. You wouldn't believe what's going on in engineering, she says. Commander LaForge and all the others, they're crazy about some new game. Yeah, what kind of game is it? It's a rising game that fits over your ear. Have you played it? She says no. Wesley says, my mom has one. She keeps trying to get me to play it. It's everywhere. Uh, don't you think it's a little strange everybody playing it all the time? It's just a fad. It's here this week. Next week we won't even know it existed. I wonder how it works. Why don't you try and find out? I'd like to know a little more about it before I try it. I bet we work together we could figure it out. Yeah, well, we could hook up one of the computers. The medical programs in the lab can set up to emulate human responses. I noticed it uses a visual interface we could connect with the optical center. Now, again, a visual interface with optical. Jordy is blind. Tell me how it works with Jordy. So then they're in the lab. I've loaded the neurological behavior program. The sensor pad should allow the computer to process whatever information the game sends it. Robin says, let's see what happens. Leslie says, okay. Robin says, he's activating the reticular formation. That's heavy synaptic activity all over the place. I wonder what happens after prolonged exposure. Speed up the process and we'll find out. And what Robin says, the effect seems centered around the frontal lobe. Computer, enhanced frontal lobe full spectrum. It's stimulating the septal area. Wesley says, that's the pleasure center of the brain. Whatever this thing is, it must feel pretty good. No wonder it's so popular. Look at this, the serotonin levels are way off. Let's run a neurochemical analysis. Robin says, I'm seeing widespread bonding to neuroreceptors. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like a psychotropic reaction. Are you saying you think the game's addictive? What's going on in the frontal cortex? Doesn't that area control higher reasoning? Yeah. Let's go talk to the captain. Now, one things that I dislike from all horror novels, because it always happens. You think you can trust somebody, you go to them for help, and it turns out they've been corrupted already. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the brainwashing that goes in this episode. They took a really good return episode by Wesley Crusher and destroyed it by having these people do this stuff to him. I do not like it at all. Not at all. He tells Picard about the game and what it's doing to people and all that kind of stuff, and he says he'll investigate it. And then after Wesley leaves the room, Picard turns around and puts the game back on his head. So you know he's already been corrupted. I don't like it. It's one thing when the Borg do it. It's another thing when a machine does it, when there's brainwashing, when they do it to each other. I don't like it. Then he goes back to Robin and tells her that the captain's going to look into it. And everybody tries to force the game on them. And then they start thinking that the only person who would not have been affected by this is Data. So they go to check on Data. So they're checking on Data and they discover what was done to Data. They see the precise cuts, how clean the edges are. Wesley says only two people on board know enough about Data to do something like this: LaForge and his mother. Why would one of them do this? Maybe there's something more going on here than we thought. What if someone's trying to use the game for some purpose other than pleasure? Then Data would be a threat to that plan, and only with Data out of the way would everybody become addicted. Everyone has except us. So then we're back on the bridge, and Worf says, "We've reached the designated coordinates, Captain. There is a ship bearing 327 Mark 152 on an intercept course." Again? That's like the fourth or fifth time during this podcast. Because as advisor of our status, Mr. Worf, go replicate what you need and see the devices are properly distributed, not forgetting Mr. Crusher. And then they go after Wesley. So everybody goes after Wesley, and the first time it fools them. Um, they see them like this, and they're good acting, so they leave them alone. Then we see the evil one, the lady from the very first opening sequence. Worf says the vessel is approaching, Captain. Computer, all senior officers report to the bridge. On screen, and she's there, and they welcome her. And she says the expansion will proceed as follows. Commander Riker, you will put a shuttlecraft to Cleon system where you will rendezvous with the Starship Endeavour. Proceed with distributing the device to the vessel. Commander LaForge, Troy, take a shuttle to Starbase 67. Distribute the devices there. And he says, then we will also introduce it to Starfleet Academy. She's like, excellent. The Cartarians commend your efforts, captains. Once the expansion is complete, your crew will be rewarded. And then they start going after Wesley and they chase him around the ship. I do not like it. I do not like it. It's wrong. It's horrible. It's a sci-fi show. It should not be a horror. It should be sci-fi. It shouldn't be horror. It shouldn't be brainwashing. I don't like them going after Wesley, his own friends, his own companions, his own family chasing after him to corrupt him. Then we're back on the bridge again, and they're tracing they're trying to capture Wesley. He's running all over the ship, and they're trying to capture him, his own family, his own friends. That is so wrong. It is so cruel. I do not like this episode. It was supposed to be a fun episode with Wesley enjoying his family and doing stuff. But not this brainwashing stuff. This brainwashing stuff is horrible. Absolutely horrible. I do not like it. And I guess that was the point of the writers, to make you angry, to make you stir your emotions. I guess it's the point of a really good book or a really good story, to get you all stirred up. So I guess it worked. But I read to escape real life. I don't read to get all depressed and angry and cry. I know there are tons of you people out there that love a good book to make you cry horribly. You love when something happens, like a kitten dies or something, and you want to cry your fucking eyes out. I don't. I don't want to be sad. I don't like what they did to him here. I don't like it. Chasing him around like a rat in a cage trying to catch him. They capture him. He's struggling. His own friends are doing this to him. And they put him in the chair. And then they hold his eyelids open while they put the game on him. How horribly, horribly wrong is this? How cruel is this? Is this right behavior to tell your children to force other people to do things they don't want to do? This is not right. I do not like this episode. It's absolutely horrible. This is supposed to be Wesley. His friends aren't supposed to be doing this to him. Brainwashing or no brainwashing, his friends aren't supposed to do this to him. All standing around him like Stepford Wise. Evil, we're gonna work our magic on you. You're gonna feel so much better. We're gonna put this thing on and you're gonna do everything you want. Even though it's against the law, you're gonna do it anyway. Here are these drugs for you. Here's your heroin. Here's your marijuana. Here's your alcohol. Become a drug addict. It's wrong. It's so wrong. I do not like this episode. It just, ugh. Data comes in and flashes the light, and all their brainwashing is gone. Easy, easy fix. I'm over it. I do not like it. Data says computer resume normal elimination. Mr. Worf, you'll find a small alien ship off the starboard bow. Please secure it with a tractor beam and raise our shields. Worf, engaging tractor beam. Are you all right, Captain? I think so, Mr. Data. We were all being hailed by an alien vessel on screen. Explain yourself, Picard. The explanation is simple. Your attempt to capture our ship has failed. And then she threatens to open fire, and they have a little repartee, and I'm just over it. I'm just over it by this point. I really am. So then we get a little voice overview. We have delivered the Quaternion vessel to Starbase 82 and are now on course to rendezvous with the starship Merrimack. We will transport Wesley Crusher back to Starfleet Academy. Robbins, I never saw you wear these. Afraid someone might see your birthmark? Wesley says, now I wonder who started that birthmark rumor. I wish you didn't have to go. Me too. You'll write, won't you? Somebody has to kill all those rumors you keep hearing about me. Mr. Crusher, we've rendezvous with the Merrimack. Please report to Transporter 2. On my way, sir. I've got to go. Here, a gift. And she gives him a book of Robin's rules. So that's it. That's it of the game, which I was so looking forward to and hoping to see Wesley Crusher again. And it became this horrible, horrible brainwashing episode. Ah, shoot. So that's the end of the game. We did Disaster last week. We did the game today. We will do Unification Part 1 next week and Unification Part 2 the week after. And someone will still have to explain to me why this is 208 and why this is 207 when this is Part 1 and I don't understand what was going on here. So we'll see what happens and hopefully it'll be a better episode than this one. So please hit the like and subscribe and let me know when I'm doing a good job. Thank you.